Every content creator makes a tier list, and every content creator tells you tier lists don't matter. So which is it? The answer? Both. And what better way to illustrate that than with a tier list of my own? That's like, all right, so here's the tier list, and we're gonna go through the various options that I've set up, and we're ranking it from the best aspect of the tier list to the worst, but I also divided it into two parts: the actual good aspects of a tier list and the bad aspects. So here are the good aspects, which is high-level opinions, competitive meta, character breakdowns, the scrub quotes in the comments, of course, the hot takes, and who to check out. So those are our good aspects, but we're gonna rank them to see where they actually lie on the list. On the bad side of the aspects, little on the ranked meta, downplay and excuses, little about difficulty, ignores playstyle, depends on the player's experience, of course, and your individual skill and the matchups that you know. Those are kind of the bad aspects that most tier lists don't go over. So we're actually going to rank those two. And we're going to talk about these things overall individually as we rank them and why they hit that rank. All right, so let's start at least the good side about high level opinions. So where does high level opinions rank? I think that's got to be A tier. They at least give you an insight into what the actual characters look like when they're played at a high level, what they're actually capable of, what their ceiling looks like. And I think that's the best insight that you get from a high level opinion from these tier lists. On the other end, that also tells you about the competitive meta, which I think is maybe the more important piece. I think it's going to be B. I'm going to put it at B because I think it's less valuable than the high level opinions in general, but they at least gives you an idea of the landscape. If you watch tournament play, you can actually see why so many characters of a particular one are being played and why people are talking about them online because of what the competitive meta is looking like. Tier lists also give you a breakdown of characters to a certain degree, which can be really, really useful. I'm not sure if it's B or A. B or A. I'm gonna put it for A for now, because the breakdowns that you get, especially if it's a really good tier list, gives you a lot of a very summarized insight into what the character's strengths and weaknesses are, how they win. And having that information can be really good and fun to watch. Now the scrub quotes in the comments, boy, I think I want to put that in A as well. We're gonna go for A just because of the fact that it can be so funny. You get some really obvious baits on the list sometimes in the comments. Not to mention, you also get the really sad scrubber in the comments where you're like, you just have no idea how this game works, do you? And so just reading the scrub quotes can just be a fun part of reading it. I think right below that, because it's related to it, I think is the hot takes. Now, I don't think the hot takes are terrible, but they make you think, and I think that's the point of the hot take, is that someone has a differing opinion than most other players, and this is why. And this is why, whether they're right or wrong, it's the fact that they're presenting a possible alternate view than the average. Even if they're absolutely wrong, they could easily be absolutely wrong, but it's at least an interesting thing to consider. Lastly, is about who to check out. And I think this one may be in B as well, just because of the fact that getting to see examples of why this character is good and getting that explanation gives you an understanding of who is interesting enough to check out. For some players, just knowing who's powerful is motivation enough to play a particular character. It's their power level that makes them interesting. And seeing what they can do or being told what they can do gives you that. So that's really, really good. So before I continue, I'm gonna review this piece. Let me see if this is good. I've only put things in A or B. Let's move some things around, because something's gotta stand out above the rest. I think the character breakdowns might be the S tier reason to watch a tier list for sure. I'm gonna bring this down to B, which I'm gonna take hot takes to C. We're gonna go C here. And then we're gonna leave the other aspects at B. I think that's good. I don't think these are the good aspects of a tier list. So that's why nothing is really in D. It's mostly the fact that like these are the ones that really get you going, and I think provide the most in a tier list. So now let's talk about the bad side, which starts with the little on the ranked meta. Because as a casual, the reality is, even though you get to learn about the competitive meta and what the high level opinions look like, these tier lists do nothing to tell you what you will face in ranked. A lot of the time, it's a popularity contest when it comes to the ranked meta, as opposed to who's actually the most powerful. There is some overlap, but the popularity tends to outweigh those things. So I think it gives you an idea, but it's not a great idea. So I don't think it's like the worst, but we're gonna put it like, we're gonna start at B. Now the downplay and the excuses. I think this is, of course, the worst aspects of tier list, because that's what brings it out of people. A lot of people just look to complain about why their character is too high or why this other character is too low. And all of those aspects are just the talking about, like, it's the bad side of the scrub quotes. It's the bad side of the hot takes. And it pulls down like the actual enjoyment of what a tier list should probably create. Similar to like the ranked meta, we have the little bit about difficulty. And the difficulty, we mean like how you play the character or how difficult it is to execute with the character. And so because we're talking about high level opinions, it's assumed that they can all perform with the character. Like the things that the character wants to do, they can do. But for your average person, the difficulty does matter. Like you can love a character and great, but if you can't execute their game plan, you're not getting very far. So the fact that tier lists don't really mention almost at all how difficult a character can be to play, I think is a weak part of them. So we're gonna put that at C. The other aspect to that is ignoring your playstyle, because your playstyle, like a character could be really high on the list. Like even for now, someone like Leo has always been really high on the list. If you hate charge characters, it doesn't matter where he is on the list, you weren't gonna play him. It's not your vibe. So that is a very introspective aspect to tier lists that most people kind of ignore. They're just like, oh, just play the top tiers. It's like, no, but what if the top tiers are all of a style that you don't like? Then the tier list kind of goes out the window and its usefulness kind of goes down. So I want to put that at C for now, for the fact that it really lacks a lot of, it requires a lot from the individual person that's watching the tier list video. Similarly, also how it depends on the player's experience matters. And this is about the person that's creating the tier list. Because depending on how diverse their kit is, their skill set is, how diverse of the matchups that they have, what kind of characters they play. Do they only play one character, 4 characters? All of that shapes their perspective on the various matchups, where they rank and how difficult they may be to do those things. And so some players kind of recognize this. They say in their video that like, I don't know this matchup super well, but what I perceive is this. But that just means that you're getting already a third person's account of a third person's account of what that character is like. So it adds a lot of dubiousness to the actual list itself. So that is actually usually not very clear in a tier list video. So I think it's one of the weakest aspects of it. So I'm gonna put that at D. Lastly, we got your actual independent skill and matchups. So your character may be very good, but if you don't know a matchup, that kind of goes out the window a little bit. If you don't know like a specific aspect of the character to your personal skill, then you're gonna struggle, right? So like right now, someone like Pot is high on the list, but if you're not good at doing like his Karas are really powerful, but if you don't know how to Kara cancel, a lot of his power just went down the drain because you don't have that skill. So that aspect, again, another introspective aspect, I don't think is usually mentioned. It is more acknowledged, the fact that, hey, this is all character dependent and matchup dependent. So there is some aspect to it as well. So I'm gonna put that a little bit higher because I think that is more important than the ignores the play style, but not by much. I feel like it's the end of B. And that's the list, y'all. Funny concept of a video. It was funny in my mind to think of the tier list, but you know what? As a casual, it's fun to discuss anyway.